So, as I alluded to in yesterday's episode, Joe Biden is playing a little bit fast and loose because he plays this character that he wants to play it straight. He wants to do the right thing. He wants to stand up for democratic values and institutions. If the parliamentarian says we can't do it, well, gosh darn it, I know I have the power to override him, but I believe in our democratic institutions. Except, for when he wants to stop asylum seekers from coming into America. He was on an interview at Univision very recently, and he was explaining what he would like to do at the border, and that he is looking to implement executive action to prevent asylum seekers from crossing the border and claiming asylum. Now, I don't know how much you guys know about, asylum law and international law. I'm not an expert, but I do know that it has always been perfectly legal for asylum seekers to come here. And many human rights organizations have criticized the Trump administration when he tried to stop that from happening as being, anti-human, essentially. We talked recently about the proposal that he made on immigration and the border, which still hasn't gone through Congress because of a bunch of connivery. That was called draconian and antithetical to human rights by the Amnesty International. So it's just to put into perspective that this isn't normal executive action on the border that he's looking to take. He's looking to basically just do unprecedented harm to the very, very powerful people in our society called asylum seekers. And I'm just what I really wanted to do here is I wanted to pop up the quotes that he said on this interview, because it basically reads like a wish list of everything that we've wanted him to say about every other issue. So he says this quote here. He says, we're examining whether or not I have that power. Some suggest that I should go ahead and just try it. And if I get shut down by court, I get shut down by court. And I remember making this exact argument about student loans, about how, it's kind of up for debate whether or not he could just cancel all of them with an executive action stroke of the pen. And he should just do it and let the courts tell him no. He should just do all of these things that he knows would improve American lives and make the courts tell him no, because there's no consequence for doing so. And I've been told by liberals that would be undemocratic. That would be very bad of him to do. But I don't hear them complaining that he intends to do this to do something that literally Trump wanted to do. He's doing something that is farther right than even Donald Trump. And I don't see any pushback. I wonder why that is. Ryan, tell me, what did you, when you were reading this article, reading up on this topic, what were your thoughts? Because I was just having pure rage.
I thought exactly the same thing. This is why we can't have nice things, is because you are doing everything we didn't ask for, and nothing that we did ask for. And I don't understand where his ideology is, and it's just really telling to me that he's getting so much support from the right, and I think that's his strategy, because he knows that he's pissed the left off, maybe irreversibly. So he's just pandering to the right. That's what this feels like. It feels like pandering to do something that even he can't even keep his lie straight. He can't even handle the softball that they want to hear. Are you going to shut down the border? And he's like, I don't know, maybe. Who knows if I got the power? Guess you'll just have to vote for me and find out. And it's like, are you doing that to both sides? The vote for me and find out. We'll see what's behind door number 3. That's not going to work. People are eventually just going to go or try to go with the sure thing, and people aren't talking about the fact that he's losing in the polls in battleground states, especially among minority voters. But whatever. You know what? Do your. Let's just shut down the border to make sure we got everybody. We're already pissing off the black community. They're saying that they're not going to vote for you. Let's go for the trifecta and just hit every minority group that we possibly can. Like, it's just, I don't understand his logic. I was more confused than I was even mad. I'm just reading it, just like, what is happening? It's an old man.
Yeah,
Ryan, you're right that, like, how is that tactic going to win? Just vote for me and find out. The only way it will is if your opponent says, vote for me and I'll be a dictator. Luckily for Biden, that is the situation that we're in. TJ, what did you think?
Yeah, it is lucky for Biden and it's terrible for everybody else. But you're right. We've Ryan, you touched on something that we talk about a lot, is that it seems like Trump and Biden have this, like, you know, perverse, like, Book of Job style bet going on who can, like, piss off their constituents more and just be more incompetent of more and more and more. Just like, yeah, we're going to make as many people mad as possible and then see who comes out on top. Like, this is just something that happens all the time. And John, what you brought up with Biden talking about how the asylum thing is really good, because, like, this is an issue that, once again, I hate to just keep going back to the low-hanging fruit of Republicans being idiots, but they literally don't understand what asylum is. They don't, because to them, seeking asylum is the same as illegal immigration. There's no difference to them. They is like, not the fact that you bring up that the asylum process is agreed on international law that we signed and agreed to participate in, and you can't just ignore that. That's just not something you can do. It's like, no, fuck it, we should do it anyway. That's how they think about it. And when you talked about the student loan debt, yes, where Biden should have just taken it to court. This is what I've been saying about the marijuana legalization.
That's where I was about to go, TJ.
I've been saying it for
another
years
simple
now.
one. Yeah.
Yes, it's because I
easy win too. Like,
I think, I don't know, did I come on the show when this happened as a guest? Because I still remember what Biden said, where he went out in public and he said that marijuana is classified as a Schedule I drug, which is the same classification as heroin. And I think it's ridiculous to say that marijuana is just as dangerous as heroin. We need to change this. So I am asking the Secretary of Health and Human Services to initiate a process to review how marijuana is scheduled. And everyone's all clapping. Oh, great job, Joe. I said, folks, this is a canard. Like, listen to what he said. He isn't directing.
I'm asking my barber to ask his cousin, to ask his roommate for permission to maybe change this one day in the future.
Right. It's been 2.5 years since he did that. And I was like, folks, this is not getting anywhere. There was some movement on it earlier this year, and now the review was complete. It took 2 years. Although he said it was obvious that marijuana is not as dangerous as heroin, it took 2 years to actually prove this, apparently. And they said, well, we got our conclusions and we sent it to the DEA. It's their decision if they want to lower the schedule or not. And it has been lowered. Like, of course it's not. But another thing is the parliamentarian, which is, once again, like, I've done nothing but eat, sleep, and breathe politics since I was like 13 years old, and I've never heard of the parliamentarian. I've never heard of them until this term in Congress. And Ryan, a long time ago now, I feel like it's been like 2 months since we did this, but John and I came up with this hilarious idea for a TV show or something in which the Constitution didn't change how presidents were elected since the nation first started, because back then the president got the most votes and the vice president was the guy who got the second vote. So we'd have Vice President Trump and President Biden, and how hilarious this TV show would have been. And I was thinking about it today, John. For some reason, I was just thinking about it. And that this would mean, so the vice president is the president of the Senate. They don't usually do it, but they can if they want to flex their muscle, whatever. Like, for example, the parliamentarian. So back in the George W. Bush era, the parliamentarian didn't agree with the Republicans. Dick Cheney just fired him. Just fire the parliamentarian and put in whoever he wanted. That's what Donald Trump will be doing right now. Donald Trump, because, like, it's a close Senate. He can break a few ties or two, and the parliamentarian makes all the rules. And the Democrats just go along with, like, well, those are the rules. What are we going to do? We kind of got to I guess match up with it. But yeah, it's political malpractice that Biden's acting like this. But I mean, unfortunately, that's what we've gotten used to. And that's actually makes it weird, because he's been in this game a long time. I don't know why he's not better at it. I guess he did make it to the presidency. You got to be pretty good at it, but it's like you'd think he'd be.
Counterpoint, TJ. So did Donald Trump.
So did Donald Trump. True.
It's very true.
Our lesson: becoming president easier than we thought. That's easier than we thought.
so Ryan, so I don't know what your stance is on immigration, but I personally am an open borders advocate, and I always just say, why doesn't Biden just go, like, these people on the right he's trying to court are never going to ever vote for him, and he's just moving that way for shits and gigs. I think it's because he personally wants to. I think that he personally is anti-immigration, because what other way could you describe him moving to the right of Donald Trump on this issue? And to me, it's like, if they're going to call they're still saying he has open borders. Like, even now with him doing all of this, he's still being accused of having open borders. So why not just do it? Why not just go all the way far left? What is the possible consequence of doing it? Ryan, maybe you don't like open borders, but do you understand my gist here?
No. I understand what you're saying, and I am for open borders. I think that they're imaginary lines, except for the northern border with Canada. I found out recently that it's a literal line. Like, they drew a line through all the forests and stuff. Look that up. That's crazy. They cut a 15-foot wide line across the top of the border.
Taxpayer money.
It looks weird too. If you Google it, it looks really weird to see it. Yeah, you're right.
It's insane. And I also want to point out that a lot of it is just through forest. So, anybody could walk, and there's no fences or guards or anything up there. I don't know if that's important, but it just feels like the larger of the two borders. There's zero protection on that one. But we have a border problem. It doesn't feel like it's a border problem when it sounds like a people problem. But I'm for open borders. I think that they're imaginary lines. And I think it's easy to say something like, oh, it's a shift in the Overton window, right? Like, we are slowly always moving to the right. Like, the United States, like on a big graph, you would say we lean more towards the right anyway. So, like, our liberals don't even really fall into the liberal side of things. A lot of times they end up being like more towards the right, center right, or something like that. But I think honestly, I think Biden is at a point right now where I think we're listening to a swan song. I think we're watching people throw spaghetti at the wall. I think he legitimately is trying anything that he can to score a couple votes, because I think that he thinks that if he can lose, which I do believe this, if he does lose, it's going to be incredibly close. And I think that's what they think is going to happen. I think that they think that if at all he's going to lose, he's either going to win by a landslide, or it's going to be, or it's going to be like 100,000 people. Like, there will be no in between. It's not going to be like a healthy race and you go, oh, okay, well, he's definitely going to win. It's going to be a nail biter, or it's not. And he's losing a lot of ground in battleground states right now. And I think that's why he's throwing these weird Hail Marys that are going to piss us off. But I think he's kind of like, with the leftists, I think I fucked it up with Gaza. Like, I think he thinks he messed up a lot, so he's not even trying to court us anymore, because we're just gonna go, the Palestine. We haven't forgotten, bro. Like, we haven't forgotten about that. Don't talk to us about anything else except you when you deal with that. So he's like, I don't have any messaging for them. And like, I think he's eating up. I think for a fact, he's not going to handle or deal with the Arizona thing until after November. I don't think that he would even touch it. I think he's going to use it as a carrot on a stick, saying, I will handle this if you vote for me. If you vote for me, I'll handle it. And then the day after the election, he'll sign an executive order and then go fight in court about it again.
I mean, that's what he should. I actually say that's what he should do. But DJ, I mean, that makes sense to me.
With the Arizona thing, he won't have to. I'll go over it in there's the section on that, because like they've already got a pretty good plan for that. But I want to talk about something you mentioned, Ryan, about how yeah, kind of weird that we have, armed guards and moats full of alligators for the Mexican border, but nothing at all for the Canadian border. And I wanted to show this. I saw this image just today, and it's this is a map that shows the countries that don't require that you can get into the U.S. without a visa versus countries that you need a visa to get into the U.S. with. The countries that can get in are in blue. So I don't know if you want to notice a pattern here in the countries that require that you can get in without a visa and countries that require a visa, but I don't know. It's a little on the nose, I think, that they kind of like put it out there that simply, but I guess there's Japan. And Japan and South Korea, those are like the lone exceptions, but certainly not
like,
China.
Wait, what is it? It looks like there's a right there. What is that?
That's Taiwan.
Is that Taiwan? Okay.
Yeah, Taiwan. Yeah. So, welcome to geography class, folks. We're going to be going over different stuff. But yeah, I thought that was a pretty.
I love that Argentina's the one in South America.
Well, that's not terribly surprising. Yeah, given Argentina's, if
well, I mean, who's there.
Exactly.
Oh no.
Yeah,
he had to get to the moon. Okay.
They had to get to the moon. We had to bring over. It's never ask like an Argentinian guy why he has a German last name, and never ask why there are like no black people anymore in Argentina. It's a horrible story on that. It's not an accident. I want to put it that way, but that's pretty fascinating. I just want to add that to the story here.
It is incredible. Like I was looking for like the one like exception to prove the rule, and there wasn't even an exception. Like it was like I was looking for it, and it just is just entirely on the nose. Speaking though of how not so subtly racist the United States, specifically Joe Biden, could be. TJ, can you put up that last quote from narrator? So I hadn't heard this before, and I looked it up, and it is true. Joe Biden, crime Bill Biden, Joe Biden literally called Obama the first good-looking, articulate black man. This is fact-checked by Yahoo News, and he said this back in 2007. He said, quote, I mean, you got your first sort of mainstream African-American who's articulate and bright and clean and nice-looking guy. And so it's just like, you see and when people talk about like Joe Biden's age, and they're like, oh, well, he can be a functioning person at that age. I'm like, even if he was a fully mentally healthy person of that age, he's clearly not fit. His entire mindset is not fit to mesh with Americans now. He's a guy who thinks back in 2007 that's a reasonable thing to say about his own fucking running mate. So, like, how do you expect this guy to be with it? He's 80. He's old. Like,
so first off, John, you did not have to check Yahoo News. You could just check with the resident old person who will let you know. I remember that very clearly. And he said it before. If I remember correctly, he said it before he was the running mate. Like he said this, if I remember correctly.
And he still got the job.
He still got the job. Well, see, it actually
white men failing upwards.
Yeah, exactly. Like at the time, I think Biden was still running against Obama, and then like it actually is why Biden was put on the ticket. He was put on the ticket to assuage the fears of the more conservative, racist Democrats, because
put the crime bill guy on there, the anti-busing guy. We'll put it.
Yeah, the anti-busing guy. Yeah.
That's right.
Was like, oh, don't worry, he's a Democrat. It's just a guy. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and this is like what you said, John, is that it doesn't matter if Biden is like overall a well-meaning cool guy. If this well-meaning cool guy was born in 1938 or whenever he was born or something like that, like Biden isn't even a boomer. He's silent generation. He's pre-boomer. Like if that's how old Joe Biden is. And this is another thing you guys can fact check me on. Joe Biden was born, his birthday is closer to Abe Lincoln's inauguration than his own inauguration. Like that's how old Joe Biden is. And so right now we're pretty cool. We think we're progressive and everything. 100 years from now, we are not cool dudes. We are not. We are going to be, we're going to have some pretty problematic opinions. And maybe if we're around, we shouldn't be in charge. So yeah, like the age thing is important. It's not the only thing, but it does play a big part when you're, trying to rule or govern a nation.